I mean, they actually are on their way to what you're talking about, because in Garol Soel's work, he shows that some of these biofilms have very brain-like potassium waves that ensure that the whole thing can eat. It synchronizes, right, the metabolism across the network, so that the ones on the outside don't get all the food, and then the inside starves. It has this like these large scale potassium waves that look, I mean, one of the papers was called, brain like signaling in bacterial maps. It's sort of on its way, right? It's kind of like they're
It's
working,
already an organism.
yeah, they're working up to a whole that's doing something different than the parts would do. All right, cool.
So what is holding systems back? And right, elephants are not able to be creative, apparently. They don't draw images. They only replicate drawings, stroke by stroke, it seems. Why is it that elephants, despite having a long childhood, do not achieve the same level of generality as we do? Is this the result of a need for tuning the system in a particular way that is tricky for evolution? Or is there a Goldilocks size to brains that they can only integrate information up to a certain scale deeply?
I don't know. The only thing I know about elephants is that we had a guest speaker once years ago at my conference, at my seminar series, where he said that he makes these giant xylophones and he drops them off in the forest in the jungle of I think Thailand. He said, for wild elephants. And he said that wild elephants, when they come across these xylophones, immediately figure out what the deal is and they start to play them. And they just like, I mean, and I said, well, is it good? And he said, no, the music's terrible, but they like it, and they, and they will just, and then presumably not having heard it before, they like it, and they just start playing. So I don't know. There's some kind of creative.
So why is it not good? They have larger brains than us.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably good for them.
Exactly right. It may be.
We just don't like it.
And no, I would suspect that what we consider to be good or not is not so much a question of cultural habits, but it's the question of the sophistication of the structure that is being encoded.
Actually, that's interesting too. There's all kinds of videos on YouTube where you can see some guy will take a violin out in the woods and just start playing it, and all these wild animals come. Foxes will come and listen, and these wild animals will just come and listen. I always thought that was really interesting. Why does it sound good to them too?
I mean, I think part of the answer to your question could have to do just with the form of the body, right? We've got these things that are really interesting, and they don't.
Yeah, but got good noses.
Pardon me?
Sorry?
They have very good noses.
Yeah.
The elephants.
Yeah.
So they basically have something that's almost as good as we do.
I mean, maybe that's an equally good toy for the brain to play with in its early development. But I don't know.
Also, people that grow up without arms are not necessarily cognitively diminished.
Yeah, they're growing up in a cognitively rich environment that's
also
created by lots of other people.
Explore in the same way and build these models. So basically, their brains are evolved to discover this degree of sophistication in abstract modeling.
I found out recently the elephant trunk requires babbling in the just like babies when they learn to use their arms at the beginning. They have no control over it at the beginning. It just waves around, crazy, and then eventually they get some control over it.
Ah, interesting.
But interesting, right? Not the legs. So the legs, they stand up pretty early. So the legs are good to go almost immediately, but the one with a lot of degrees of freedom takes a while to get going.